Hello and welcome to another retro crazy mini Byte. This is the Grandstand FireFox F-7. No, I did not buy this off of eBay, and no, I wasn't given it. This isn't actually mine, this belongs to my wife. Apparently she was quite into the Game & Watches and has a small collection of those, and this is one of the things she has from her youth. So I'm going to pop it open. And inside we can see the FireFox F-7 still in its box, but unfortunately without manual. So here is the FireFox F-7. Now it's a little bit dusty, it's still in very nice condition. Very little of this is worn at all. There's a little bit of wear on the corners. But let's face it, yeah, it was released in 1983, and in fact, there we go, clearly there, 1983. So let's have a look. I can see it's going to need a clean, not sure, let's have a look inside. Battery compartment, yeah, is not looking the greatest. It has been in storage for many decades. So what was special about this? Well, it was one of the first to come out with stereo sound. So you had left and right. Stock vacuum fluorescent display, and it was kind of like supposedly flying down the trenches in Star Wars. It was also released in the States under Astro something. So yeah. So let's pop this apart and let's see what the insides are like. So just the 6 screws. These are fake, they're blank, there's nothing in them. Let's see if we can work out how this comes apart. Maybe this way? Or maybe we want to flip it over and lift it off that way, by the looks of what I've seen. My goodness, trying to line this up for the camera. Okay, doesn't come past this, so does this unscrew? Please don't tell me there's a screw underneath here. And yes, there is. There's a screw underneath here. There we go. Hopefully now this top section will lift off, if I can get a hold of it. There we go. Wow. And our first look inside. So the lens is a magnifying lens, as you can maybe tell. So let's pop this to the side. Although I do have to point out, this comes out separately, so for cleaning this can be unscrewed, removing the delicate lens because you certainly don't want to scratch that up, and then the rest of the casing can be cleaned up. Excellent. We're going to very carefully remove this. Now from what I can see it will lift up, slide down and then slide out. Again, a little bit dusty, and this is just plastic, so we can pop that to the side. And now we're here, we can see the battery terminal here is very corroded, top of this one is corroded, but it doesn't look like it's progressed any further. So we should be able to desolder all this, unclip it, and take care of that corrosion. So to desolder these, especially this one, I'm going to use some flux, because I think this time it's going to need it. This just helps the solder flow and should allow us, he said hopefully, to pop all that off. So that worked nicely. The plastic is actually marked, you should be able to see that, positive and negative. So I don't even need to worry about where these wires go, already pre-marked. Now, the power jack should just lift out. We've got what looks like 2 screws to lift this off. I've got to be careful because while there are 2 screws holding on the circuit board directly, there are 3 that hold this plastic support on, and that's exactly what the display sits on. So I have to be very, very careful that this doesn't get damaged when I remove these, because it's going to end up unsupported. But I need to get in because I want to replace these caps, which yeah, 83 to 2023, you do the math and work out how old these are. So let's pop this bit apart. You can see all the switches are done by sliders, and here are all the pads for all the different controls and the fire button. So all of these will get a little bit of a clean, make sure they're all fine. There's a single screw holding this on. So let's pop that off. Now we get to the more delicate section, which is this screen. And now I'm hoping this will just very gently and carefully lift up, taking care not to damage this. And then the final 2 screws, and we should now be able to lift everything out, taking care of this particular vacuum fluorescent display. Now, I can see that there are a couple of points underneath that I'm going to have to desolder before I move any further, so rest everything down. 1, 2, 3. And now hopefully with that done we can lift everything out. Except for another connector on the underside of this board. So I have to be quite careful because I do not want to break anything. And with that final one done, we are clear. And I'm just going to move this out of the way so I can rest this down gently. Now I realise there's a lot of stress on this at the moment, so I'm just going to get something to sit underneath. So I've got the box for my MX4 thermal compound just supporting this. That's fine, because the last thing I want to do for the disassembly is pop these out so they can be cleaned. And that should simply be a case of bending the tabs up. These ones are brittle, so never great because they could just snap. That's as far as I'm willing to take that one. That one's fine. That one's fine. Now, can I pry these out from inside? Now the main speakers, by the looks of it, these brackets should twist to the side and allow them to come out. So let's see if that's the case. So that's them out. I did note that on these it's easier to actually access them from the underside, push and twist each individually so they'll unlatch and then come out. This is now ready to go away and get all of this cleaned out and a good clean on the entire case there, because I can see spots of something. It could be the flux, but before we even started there were spots inside, so I'm not going to risk this having more battery acid in it. So let's put that to the side for cleaning along with the battery door, and yeah, look at the acid on there. Definitely needs done. And last but not least, we're going to quickly just pop this lens off because I do not want to damage this lens. And this whole thing now can lift out and go to the side. So with that all done, these will go away for cleaning while we look at the main board. So with everything away being cleaned, it leaves me the board and these. Now I'm just going to clean these. They're actually not too bad. They're not bad at all. Obviously it would be nice if they weren't as corroded, but we're going to cure that by dropping these into some vinegar. You should see them starting to bubble pretty much straight away there. So we're going to leave these in for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll clean off with some isopropyl alcohol. Now I'll get rid of what's here so I can work on the board, and I'm going to replace these caps. Now again, the caps that I have, which are here, have been supplied by Techie Kid. Thank you, Martin. Again, superb eBay store. Please use, it's good stuff that he sells. It's not cheap Chinese knockoffs, as they say. So with everything set up, let's look at getting this recapped. So with the caps all replaced, I've got rid of the vinegar. You can see just how much it had eaten through. I'm just going to neutralise everything now with isopropyl. I've already rinsed it under water. There we go. With that all done, I'll be able to pop these back in. They'll never be perfect, but they will work. That just shows how much corrosion there was. It's right underneath the chrome. It was eating into it quite a bit. So never going to be perfect, but we have arrested any of the degradation that was there, and hopefully that will be okay. I'll give this a clean up with a fibre pen, and then we'll be able to pop that back in. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to finish cleaning this, because I want to get this board back in where it's properly supported and protected. So I'm just going to clean all this up with isopropyl alcohol. And there we have it, complete, back together, much cleaner, looking much nicer. So I suppose I really need to test this and make sure it's working, and I'm going to do that simply by powering through this socket here, and it should be about 6 volts, so I'll run it off the bench power supply. So it's the next day, we're ready for testing. Apologies, there are roadworks going on right outside the house, so if you hear anything, it can't be helped. So I've got the bench power supply set up. I've got it set for 6 volts, 1 amp, center positive, so that goes in here, and let's see what happens when we power on. Well, we get noises, but unfortunately it looks like It looks like the vacuum tube may have failed, and that's unfortunate. So we'll pop it open, we'll double check and make sure all the connections are still intact, but it could be that the vacuum tube unfortunately is no longer with us. So what we're looking for is a beep. So that's unfortunate. Everything from the controller board at least seems to be operational. So I've done some more checking. If this goes white, then it's a sign that there's probably a fault in the display, but it's not white, so a lot of these are fairly passive, a couple of obvious exceptions. However, I've got replacements for these, so I'm just going to swap them over now and see if anything changes. So with those replaced, there are a number of these junctions which are being used to jump points. There's no vias, there's no top board, it's all one side. So they're using it to jump points. You know, so for example, this point here goes down here. So I want to make sure that all the rest of them go to the right places. So they all test fine. I don't see anything else. None of the solder joints look dry. I'll maybe just run the soldering iron across them just to refresh them, just on the off chance. So with that done and all the solder refreshed, let's rebuild and see if there's any change. So it's back together enough for me to check. So let's see what's going on, if anything. There's something there. Okay, hold on. You can definitely see display moving. Oh my god, right, okay, I can see that quite clearly. I'm going to switch this off, clean everything, shush. I'm going to put this all back together and it should light up a bit better in the darker case. Excellent. Okay, so I'm having to lift it so you can see it. Fingers crossed. See number one. Oh. We've got a display. I'll go left and right. boy, this is loud. I'm so happy this is working. Okay, let me turn this. There we are. Sound is off. Okay, this is a huge win. I think my wife is going to be a little bit surprised. My daughter has come running over from the couch to find out what on earth I'm doing. Haven't you?
It's loud.
It's loud, yes. Okay, well I'm going to switch that off there. That is superb, but my wife is going to be very happy. So I'm very happy. I'm going to guess it was one of the transistors. I mean, it could have been a dry solder joint, but they all looked very clean. And I just did that just to make sure I gave it the best chance to run. So happy. I think Mum's going to be happy. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. So thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Retro Crazy Mini Byte.